Good morning, folks. You're off the beaten trail with Edward this beautiful Monday morning. It's the 6th of November, 2023. I'm in Oak Hill Cemetery, Battle Creek, Michigan. Going to visit a couple of graves here today. I think that you'll find not only interesting, but very famous. I always start in this cemetery with paying respects to Sojourner Truth. And she and some of her family members are interred right here. Sojourner was a renowned lecturer, reformer, who championed anti-slavery, the rights of women and freed men. She rests here. Beside her lie two of her 5 children. Elizabeth Banks Boyd, who died January 6, 1893. Diana Corbin died October 25, 1904. And 2 grandsons, Samuel Banks, died February 24, 1875, and William F. Boyd died November 3, 1887. Right here is Sojourner's grave. And then right here behind me, other members. Sojourner Truth, born a slave in Ulster County, New York in the 18th century, and she died in Battle Creek, Michigan, November 26, 1883. She's aged about 105 years. One of her famous quotes, "Is God dead?" I think you're also going to find it quite interesting that Sojourner Truth and her family members are laid to rest right here in the shadow, as it were, of a large mausoleum. We'll be right back. And again, we're looking at the gravesite, an historical site of Sojourner Truth and her family. This mausoleum is built around, I believe it said 1911. I believe it also said that they used 400 plus tons of Vermont granite. Man, that's a big mausoleum, right? Well, inside is one of the captains of industry back in the day, C.W. Post. Of course, here in Battle Creek, we've all heard of Post Cereal and the Kellogg Company, and look into history a little bit and read about the rivalry between Post and Kellogg. Seemingly Post had maybe taken a little advantage with Kellogg's cornflakes and came up with his own. And if you read the history of it, beautiful cemetery, right? I think that you may find a bit of truth in that. Get around here on this side out of the sun a little bit. C.W. Post. Gonna go back here into the cemetery a little further and have a little look. I think before I go back further in the cemetery, take a little closer look here at the big bronze doors on the post mausoleum. Oh, those are heavy duty. Back over here is the crematoria and the chapel for internments. Okay, folks, we're here in Oak Hill Cemetery, Battle Creek, Michigan, and we just looked at the mausoleum of C.W. Post and also the burial site of Sojourner Truth. We're here now going to take a look at one of the Kellogg brothers, one of the feuding brothers, W.K. and John Harvey, started their little company together there, and one, of course, was associated with the sanitarium, the other with the cereal manufacturing, and two brothers there, they really see eye to eye. You can read about that, some history. I'm not going to go into that here. But this is the grave of John Harvey and his immediate family. And in this cemetery you will find, and you can see right here at his grave, and I'll try to put this up a little bit, footsteps of the pioneers. There are flags spotted all over the cemetery. One there. There are two more right back here. And there are others throughout the cemetery. These do denote not only the pioneers, but they are Seventh-day Adventists. The Kellogg brothers, their family, were Adventists, Seventh-day Adventists. That's where that fantastic diet comes from, actually, the word of wisdom, if you would. And there are many Adventists here in this cemetery. We're going to take a little look a little further into that. Take a little walk over here by this zincy, they're called. They're a zinc alloy stone. Marker, I should say. There's no stone about it. Beautiful little setting with the color changes behind it there. And of course the grave right here, and excuse my shadow. And my shadow, John Harvey. John Harvey Kellogg, 1852, 1943. I'll be right back. Literally within the shadow of John Harvey's grave, find another pioneer. Little site here. I think you'll recognize the logo. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone, I'm not one to point out how people with wealth should spend their money or how they shouldn't spend it. Just would hope that they'd spend it wisely. Help some less fortunate folks. We just looked at a huge grand mausoleum of C.W. Post, and at the time it cost $100,000. Today, many millions. And here you have his arch rival, as it were, his arch nemesis, W.K. Kellogg. This is where he is buried. And his family. Ella, Irvin H., W. Keith, of Of course, this beautiful sundial we'll look at here in a second. Here's Hester A. Gertrude J. And Sarah E. And of course, the famous sundial. It's famous in history and famous graves. W.K. Kellogg and his writings that is left on the sundial. We all must remember, the early bird gets the worm. Yes, he does. Beautiful little site here. Be right back. And again, if you have the wealth and you put up a big mausoleum, that's your own business. Kellogg certainly could have doubled the mausoleum that Post had if he had wanted to. We all believe that this is a sign of his humility in life, and his company would be his mark. Strong as steel. Wrought iron right there on the gate. We'll be right back. Again, a beautiful part of the cemetery here, the back gate of Oak Hill. And walk up here a little ways and we'll see many more obelisks. And when you do the research, which we are in process, doing a further video of who is buried here at these obelisks, there are some more captains of industry here we'll get into later. Be right back with you. As you can clearly see, this whole part of the cemetery, many obelisks. We're going right down here. Here you can see the C.W. Post mausoleum there in the distance. The first tour I had of this cemetery, the guide brought us here to this location. Little mausoleum here in the background again. And he wanted to show us where the inventor of a certain hunting product lies to rest, or is laid to rest. And if you're a fan of migratory waterfowl hunting, you will be familiar with Mr. D. Coy. Part of cemetery humor, or dark humor as it were. Be right back. The Fondas have been here, George, since 1903. Well, folks, a little earlier here in Oak Hill, we talked a little bit about the flags, the pioneers that are buried here, and about the Seventh-day Adventists, about the Kellogg brothers and others. Take you here to a very special grave site. It's right back here. And we'll read this together. It's a Michigan registered historic site. James and Ellen White. James S. and Ellen G. White were among the founders of the General Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which was organized in Battle Creek in 1863. Long participants in the Adventist movement, They came to Battle Creek in 1855 when the Adventist Press was moved here. James served as minister, author, editor, and General Conference president. Ellen, a prophetess, reportedly experienced over 2,000 visions. Married in New England in 1846, both were involved in the founding of publishing, medical, and educational institutions. After James' death in 1881, Ellen traveled to organize Adventist churches in Europe, Australia, and the American South and West. She is widely known for her writings on health, education, family life, and the Bible, and is one of the most translated American authors. She died in 1915. We're going to go up here and take a look at the graves of the founders of the Seventh-day Adventist. And of course, one of the flags. And over here, there is a Kellogg. John R. Kellogg, also, and his immediate family. James and Ellen White, founders of the Seventh-day Adventist Church here in Oak Hill Cemetery. Gonna have a little weather coming in by the way it looks. Almost right inside the main gate. And the offices are right there. In an old receiving vault. We'll look at that in a second on the way out. Like just a second to also mention that I am not a member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, but the faith that I am a member of is also a worldwide faith, and we do practice the word of wisdom very, very close to what Dr. Kellogg preached and teached at the sanitarium downtown in Battle Creek, as well as James and Ellen White. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with a good diet, a healthy diet, and exercise. Be right back. Here, folks, is the front of the receiving vault here at Oak Hill. 1844. That's the Sexton's Lodge. Receiving vault was built 1880. Back into the hill right here. Of course, this is where that they would store the bodies during the winter. They couldn't break ground because of the frozen ground. And so in the spring, when they could break ground and dig the graves, they'd be moved from here and buried, just like in Kalamazoo at Mountain Home. We'll look back up this way a second. Looking right up the hill there towards C.W. Post's mausoleum and the gravesite of Sojourner Truth. Thank you for being with me here today. This little trip to Oak Hill Cemetery. I always love coming here. I come here about twice a year. If you like this video, sure appreciate it. Give me the thumbs up and subscribe. Appreciate that too. The bottom of my heart. Y'all have a great day.